All right, welcome everybody. If everything's working according to plan, let's see if I can get the puppy on the screen. I don't think so. So we got the little puppy over here. Co-host sleeping, but at least he's here today. Welcome. Put this water bottle over here for scale. That's how little he is. All right, so I don't think anybody's going to join us this morning. It's too early in the morning, but we'll put this back up on the screen. We're going to be taking a look at what happened this week. Focus on the Second Amendment, and it's not that much stuff, so spoiler alert. We take this information, and the point here is to archive it consistently. So sometimes there's a lot of stuff going on, sometimes there's not that much stuff going on. If we ever needed to go back and find information, this is creating some points in the timeline that are searchable, locatable, findable. So that's the goal, and let's get into it. So we put this information together each week, and we post it in quite a few places. Then we talk about it, and then we post the conversation over on the podcast platforms. So, I'm wondering, are we live on the X today? Let's go find out if I did this right. So last night I had a miscalculation with the energy drinks and fell asleep just about at the end of Gizzard's show, and hard crash. It's not going to be able to do the show, so we're doing it in the middle of the morning, which is, legal. It's just not super smart for trying to be consistent. So if anybody does show up live, welcome. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, you get the advantage of being able to listen to it on your time, right, on your schedule. All right, so we post this information, we chat about it, and then we post the conversation. And there's a strategy there. We're not really looking for subs or anything like that, as much as getting the information on multiple podcasts to promote the projects and the people that we'll be talking about today. So we put that stuff out on the Patreon, thanks to the Patreons. I have to figure out a way to make this scroll. There must be a video scroll on this, right? But usually on the old system, we'd have a scroll going across the bottom of the screen that would say thanks to our Patreons for making it possible, literally possible for us to still be here, and putting the stuff up on the line. So we have our blog over on their Patreon, or at least we essentially treat it like a blog. We don't have a lot of stuff. Every once in a while we'll put a special out there for our Patreons, but for the most part we don't hide anything behind the paywall. We just use the Patreon as a blog and as a way to speak directly to those folks that are capitalists and financially support what we're doing. Then we have a newsletter that occasionally goes out. And then this is the Substack, what we're looking at right now. You can join that, and it gets sent to you as an email, I guess, which is kind of like a newsletter. Then we post stuff on Instagram for some reason. Give us some feedback on Instagram. Should we keep doing that? Can I bring little puppy back onto the screen? Is that going to work? Is that the way to do it? That didn't work. I'm going to bring him back onto the screen in a way where he's on the screen. Come on, man. Make him big. There he is. How do I get him to share the screen again? All you can do is make them each take over the screen. I'll quit playing. He's over here snoring though. And then we do this as a podcast, and the podcast is over at Podbean. Well, no, that's actually a place you can go that has all the links. So if you are more comfortable listening on iTunes or iHeartRadio, we're on all those. We just post them over on Podbean, and it gets distributed from there. But that's a quick way to find all the podcasts. All right, well, normally we start the week with 2A news. There's not a lot of that this week. Then the 2A talk, which is stuff that's focused on the right of the individual. And then we've got the gun stuff specifically. There's a little bit more of that this week, I guess. Then we've got the radio shows, the military interview shows, and the stuff that we've been working on. which is mostly the big long conversation we had last week with Tony. Did I put that on here? Oh, maybe I didn't even put that on there. But wasn't it last week that we had that like epic long conversation? So let's see. So we've got. Oh no, it was 2 weeks ago. Last week, I went to go to Phoenix. So let's get into it. Snob is out there. Good morning. I'm assuming you're working. He works all the time. Am I allowed to bring stuff on the screen? Oh, I can bring stuff on the screen. Look at that. So that's one of the advantages of being here live, is you get to be part of the conversation, which is really what the internet's all about. Otherwise, we could just post this stuff as a magazine article, right? Just disseminate it. You could be programmed with it. All right, so this 2A News of the Week consists of the Supreme Court hearing arguments on the Garland versus Vanderstock. So that has to do with definition of a firearm. And is it 80% or is it frames and receivers, but in that realm? And it sounds like we're really just hearing updates on this. Speculation, of course, and insight, which we won't probably hear anything till, July of 2025. So we're still a half a year away from the deadline for that, and they usually wait for the deadline. Then we have news, and this comes from, I get my 2A News of the Week, typically from the NSSF newsletter. There was nothing in it this week. It was not a very meaty newsletter. So the second item is the Biden administration is delaying the orders of small arms over to Israel. Evidently, Israel bought a bunch of probably ARs or M16s, depending, right after October 7th of last year. And the administration blocked the export, because an executive branch can do that, I guess. And because they're concerned who's going to get the rifles. So the more I hear about it, the more I think about it. It's probably they don't want the political black eye of arming people in another country with tax dollars and making the decision, signing a piece of paper. She makes a lot of campaign stuff about signing, waving a pencil and with the stroke of my pen. So that's probably a part of it. And then by not doing it, of course, she creates more of the back and forth bullshit with the ping pong game of, you're being mean to gun owners and gun companies and stuff, which she gets kind of paid to do, right? So lame. And there's people in the House or Senate, I guess the House, that are pushing back against the BIS, Bureau of something, that is the ones in charge of this delay, or the ones creating the delay. And it's an intentional delay. It's not like they're like, oops, we've lost the mail. Like, they're just saying, nope, we're not sending it because of we don't know who's getting the rifles. So it's a decision. So in other words, the soapbox, we could be holding their feet to the fire on that one, so to speak. But we're not, so let's keep moving on. So then we get to the 2A talk. Looks like I was putting this together. I have to do it differently, just technically, because I'm not using that software we were using before to stream. So I really have to build it. I usually now build it in Patreon and then move it over to, Substack, where I used to build it in the streaming software. So because of that, I guess I missed Brooke's chat, which I probably missed last week anyway because I was driving to Phoenix. Brooke, though, each week does a show from Connecticut called Suicide Prevention Saturday, which is a consistent focus on mental health and suicide prevention. And that's typically the first thing I'll lead off the Second Amendment part of the show with, since it's really the only thing that matters, really. The numbers that are used against us are 60% of those numbers are suicides, and the miscommunication, the misunderstandings, the intentional ignorance from both sides on that are what create a good chunk of the rift, a good chunk of the, I don't know what to call it, misunderstanding about guns. So without those numbers, it would be much more difficult for the other side to suggest there's a crisis, and everything we do to affect those numbers, to minimize those numbers, is in the spotlight of showing firearms owners doing more than just complaining about our rights. So it's a massive potential, and it's a massive project that she's been working on. So I like to give her kudos each week and encourage anyone to help spread the word. The whole point of this show is to spread the word about these projects and these people that are doing the important work, the worthwhile work to change the playing field, to change the dynamic. And Brooks is leading the way on that. Right behind her are fellow gun owners' rights advocates in Connecticut and Rhode Island with Sisters in Arms, and they had Gabby on. This is a two-part interview with Gabby, and it's always interesting because she's from Venezuela and has firsthand knowledge since she migrated from Venezuela, I guess would be the way to say it. She moved from Venezuela to the United States. She's got a lot of insight as to what's going on in so many ways. So definitely worth checking this one out. It's essentially these two ladies are hosting a television show in a studio and do mostly interviews, but also informational stuff about their, I'm going to say plights, because their Carrie Ann is the is one of the people, the media director for Goal and in Massachusetts, which is of course under attack right now. And they're not only creating awareness, but kind of documenting their, I don't want to say adventures, but their efforts over there in the New England states. This one's interesting. So I was watching, I usually don't post anything I haven't watched. Every once in a while I'll post something that I plan to watch because I know it's going to be good, but I try not to just post stuff for no reason, especially if I haven't seen it, so that I'm not posting garbage or whatever or wasting everybody's time. So I'm watching this Gun Owners America Minuteman Minute for making sure it's worth posting, talking about Kamala again in her block comments. But I'm curious if anyone's going to pick any meat off of that, right? If we're just going to poke at it, or if we're going to do something about that. So he actually talks about some stuff now. Let's see. I was hoping that I could illustrate this. So they've got 192,000 subscribers. Colion has 2.93. So Colion also posted a video about Harris talking
so
about
Kamala recently did.
It's 8 minutes long. Gun Owners America
Kamala Harris
has been doing it, and it's 5 minutes long. So comparable. They're both like under that 13-minute mark. You can't see the views unless you go there. So why don't we open in a new window? And
Kamala Harris is back at it again.
10,000 views.
So Kamala recently did a 60-minute interview.
And 311,000 views in 3 days, in 21 hours. But I think you can see there's there's a bit of a difference there. All right, well, so I've got massive hiccups in the middle of a podcast. Quick, let's switch to the co-host. That's what he's here for. Take it away. I got the hiccups. Go. Take it away, buddy. It's your show now. Hurry up. Start off with the part where I was talking about Colion Noir. Hold on. He'll take over the show while I drink something. He's not the best co-host, but he might be the cuddliest co-host. He might be the cutest co-host. I don't know if there's a better co-host out there. I'd like to see it. But yeah, he doesn't really carry the show very good. I'm going to flip it back over. I'm assuming my audio is working. I'm really not getting any feedback other than Snob saying good morning. So there are people out there, but they're probably over on the Instagram because the Instagram people don't offer any feedback. They only observe, judge. Let's see. So I thought it was interesting though. 311,000 views, and let's be realistic. What does Gun Owners America hope to get out of any video, especially Minuteman minutes? It's short, right? It's got information that's worth listening to. But I don't even know what I'm trying to say here other than, we need all hands on deck for things. And hopefully we'll exercise those muscles as a community more because, no three-letter organization is going to be able to cut it alone, that's for sure. All right, so then we got this guy. What's his name? He says it at the beginning.
Hey everybody, Bill Sack here.
Yep. So now this guy works for Second Amendment Foundation? ? So I looked around, and I guess he works for Second Amendment Foundation now. He's the boss of something. So I don't know how many people have been paying attention or following along, but I don't know. Is that interesting? That the players keep just shuffling around. I don't know if anybody's paying attention to that, or if there's any significance to that, or what's up with that. I guess I'll just mention it and move on. I don't know what to make of it, but I know that it's happening. Let's put it that way. So then we've got the. What was this one about? Why did I post this? I usually post S2 Underground when something good is happening. So.
Hello again, everyone.
Oh, I think this is just about the hurricane and all that. That might have been. So he did a 50-minute situation report on what's going on. It's biased, but it's concise. I like the updates over there. Let's see. Then we have. Are we in the gun stuff already? I guess we got into gun talk here. I don't think She Fires did anything this week. So last week, I guess it would be now. So nothing from She Fires. But Milspec Monkey was up at Triggercon. And if anybody wants to see how reviews are done, this is a dude who's been doing reviews. I don't know if he's been doing them longer than me. I'm going to just go ahead and say longer than me. He definitely was doing them in front of me as videos before I was. I was taking pictures when he was doing videos, or he was doing videos while I was still taking pictures. Let's put it that way. So definitely OG. I think a million years ago, I did an interview with him. I feel like it was in 9 or something, like when we were in Florida. I might have got him to sit down and do an interview, but it might have been later than that. Anyhow, if you want to see somebody who really knows how to do booth review type interviews at shows, he literally invented it. Nobody was doing it. He started doing it. Everybody copied off of him, and you can see how it was originally done. That's for AXILs, which are noise canceling ear protection from a couple of different form factors that are pretty small. They're not big cups over your ears. They're something that you shove into your ear canal and then have electronics on the outside. So it was an interesting review of those. And then these suppressors are pretty neat. Oh, there's Mike White out there. Welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm assuming you can hear. Thanks for some feedback if you can offer some of that. They had some kind of 50 cal, I guess that's a cap and ball. So they had pulled back the wood a little bit, machined the barrel into threads, and then put a suppressor on there. And the suppressor company that makes a modular baffle stack type of aluminum suppressor modular thing had put one on there, and said it was a pretty popular thing at the show for people to comment on and pick up and fiddle with. Kind of an interesting idea. I don't know I mean, it must have happened already. There's no way that it hasn't happened already, but I don't know if I've seen anybody make a big deal out of one on the internet yet. So it's kind of neat. And it's neat that this company has these modular baffle like stack type of things where you need an end cap, you need the bottom nut, whatever it's called, but some of the stuff in the middle is just redundant, which means on some of them you can remove some of them and get less noise reduction, but definitely flash reduction and some noise reduction, but you can kind of adjust, I guess, or set your noise reduction. It's kind of neat concept. Slim Cowboy was going live a couple times this week. If you haven't checked him out, check that out. Talking about guns and whatnot. Kind of a gun nerd. Then you've got, speaking of gun nerds, you got the Gun and Gear Review podcast happens on Tuesdays. Worth checking out. On Thursdays, you might want to check out the Gear Report podcast when they go live. They were talking about the Iraqi veteran birthday party event this year. Then you got the overnight, where Foss hosts an overnight show if you're awake. Normally this show's in the middle of the night, so this is letting people know about other shows that are on in the middle of the night. Kind of a nice ghost gun AI image there. And then, well, I guess every other weekend he'll do the overnight. So don't get ready for one this weekend. It happened last weekend, so you just have to sit there minding your business tonight and just remember back to the olden days when there was an overnight. But maybe you could watch reruns or something. It's sad, really. But one day, maybe we'll see overnights every week. But what we do get every week is a mouse party. So if you're up in the middle of the night, or if you're work over the night, then the mouse party is available as a live show Wednesday nights, middle of the night. It's worth checking out. The mouse party usually has no topic, where the overnight show will occasionally have a topic. Speaking of shows that don't normally have topics, you got the Foul Territory with Gizzard, which usually is right before this show, but I didn't do my show in the normal time slot. But I want to thank Gizzard for always plugging the show and the store, which I probably should have put a store commercial in here, which I didn't do. And then moving on to the left of center, Yankee hosts a show with me and Matt every once in a while, and it's just me and Yankee this week. If you want to check that out, it's over on Yankee's channel. Let's see, then we have the radio shows, and it looks like I got a couple of them in here this week. No more Eye on the Target, so they only bring that up usually when they're at gun rights policy or something else is going on, where they're kind of getting their equipment ready, or they already have their equipment out. But I don't think Paul is back to being full-time or anything yet. Or if that's going to be, we don't really know. I don't think anybody's done an interview with Paul since he's tapped out a bit. Then we've got, or I should say put it on pause. I don't say tapped out, sounds spinal, so put it on pause. Then we've got the radio shows, though, that did go live this weekend was Gun Owners Radio, and that's for 2 hours on Sunday from 4 to 6. That's the San Diego gun owners out of San Diego that host the show. And they also host now on Mondays a lead talks, like a play on TED Talks, where they bring on, normally it's trainers, people that are instructing people on either CCW or personal defense tactics type of conversations, but also adjacent things. So it's a pretty interesting, it's not really an interview show. It's more of they give the person some time to do their thing in front of a live audience, and then there's questions and answers if they're, depending on the topic. So pretty interesting show to listen to on Mondays. I didn't link that in this one this week because I only linked the stuff I watched, and I didn't watch that show. Then you've got the Rapid Fire Radio. So Toby's over there dealing with the craziness that happened in Massachusetts last week when the governor essentially went tyrant, literally, and signed an emergency order to effectively, well, let's just say mess with, because it hasn't necessarily blocked the 90,000 person petition. They needed 50,000 signatures. They got 90,000 in the short amount of time that they were given to attempt to block the bill, I guess you could say, that went through, or the law that went through, that had already been signed. And then the governor signed an emergency preamble, which allowed it to immediately take effect before the signatures could really be counted or do anything. Really difficult situation. I can only imagine the people in Massachusetts, are blinded by this. What else can you do? You're forced to react to this. And since we don't have national level organizations that organize assistance for this, they're literally in it alone. And I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it would have happened in the past when we did have a giant multi-state, national level organization. I think the infrastructure of that would have just allowed for redistribution and awareness to happen, but we don't have anything to facilitate any kind of redistribution of awareness or resources. So, we rely on the organizations that are just watching it happen too. It's frustrating, but it's not the first state it's happened to, and since we're not doing anything effectively, it's not going to be the last state it happens to, I'm assuming. But I'd love to be wrong on that one. All right, so gun calendars, where are we at with time? I've got to figure out where my clocks are. Oh, we've only been live for half an hour. Dang. So what happens when, one, your co-host is sleeping, and two, nobody's saying anything in the comments. So except for Mike White and Guns Up, everybody's sitting out there just minding their business, which is fine. It's legal. It's just weird, creepy. But you are allowed to interact with the internet. That's why it's called the internet, because you can interact with it. It's an acronym for you can click on things and it'll happen on the other side of the internet. All right, so I guess I should just do this on screen since we're on the internet together. This is Gun Calendars. It is a website that our Patreons allow us to keep up and hosted. I might actually be thinking about a way, I am thinking about it, I might be able to kind of finagle a way to do this in an even cooler way. But as of right now, it is just a website with a calendar on it and a bunch of lists, I guess. I don't know if you want to call like the list of all the things that are going on a calendar, but it's a list of calendar events. And then there's a real calendar. And it's not the fanciest software in the world, but, costed a couple of bucks back in the day. And we thank our Patreons for allowing us to be able to put this kind of stuff out there. But it's letting you know what's coming up, anniversaries, things that happened in the past. But of course, most importantly, the things that might be important, like rallies or other events that we need to know about. Like this weekend is the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival, put on by essentially Car Arms and that conglomerate. And it's in Pennsylvania, and this is their 6th annual. In the past, they brought people in, had chats, or not chats, but like, I don't know what you call them, seminars, I guess, speeches and music, and it's a big thing. It's a festival for sure, not just a gun show or an industry show, but it's almost like a festival mixed with an industry show. So pretty interesting. I've never been there. It's way too far away to casually even think about it. I almost tried to get to it in the past on road trips, but it just never worked out. It was either on the same weekend as something else or too far away from some event, either on the calendar or in physical. So I never got to see it. I don't think I know anybody that's seen it either. Oh, I just seen that comment. Is that, I don't know why you removed it, but yeah, thanks. I didn't realize that. It's probably expensive to be on the whole thing, I guess. So, weird. I wonder why my chat is being weird. Oh, maybe you didn't delete that, and maybe my chat is just being weird. Sorry about that. It's probably because I'm connected to this new streaming system and they're not connecting to it or something. Anytime you do a super chat, I'll wake up this little co-host and give them a biscuit. Today's biscuits are from Pyolius Flea and Tick Prevention. Look, they got a husky on there. You think he'd even eat a husky biscuit? He might say, I don't want no biscuit that's made for a husky. In USA. Well, looks like he's getting up to investigate this situation. He's looking very seriously at these. Oh, here comes the yawn. Is it coming? It's been a long time here not yawning. Where did I put this? Where did you see it come from? These ones. I'll just put it here on the floor for the other dog to play with it. There's a little extra. There it comes. There's the yawn. Nope. Thought he was going to yawn. He stretched. We got a stretch on him. There it goes. Right, okay, I'll go. Nope, making a yawn. Wait. Nope. I thought he was going to yawn. Yawns get a lot of views, so I was going to try to make him yawn. People always super chat me yawns, so let's try to get him to yawn. Poke him in the ear. I've always heard, poke a dog in the ear, and that'll make him yawn. Alright, well, I guess we'll get back to the show. Nobody's saying not to poke you in the ear, so I'm going to keep poking you in the ear, but we'll get back to the show also, I guess. But I'll be poking him in the ear off screen. It's not a wet willy, it's a dry willy. He's just getting a dry willy right now. Okay, well, so let's get back to him. Nobody cares about this dog getting wet willy. It also is gun prom. Is that right? It can't be right because you would think they'd be talking about it. But this says that it's gun prom today, October 12th, 2024. Maybe it is, and I'm not paying attention enough. But gun prom is a fancy dress dinner party that the San Diego Gun Owners puts on. And evidently it's tonight. Let's see, we have Columbus Day. Oh, I thought Columbus Day was last week. Columbus Day is next week. And then it's also Indigenous Peoples Day. All right, then we've got the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers is next week. Essentially a small SHOT Show for gun shops that are part of the National Association of Sporting Goods Wholesalers. Imagine. I think it's also a little bit more sporting goods than just gun shops. So they probably might have some like bicycles and kayaks, I'm guessing, and tents and things like that we don't normally see at SHOT Show. But I'm just guessing. I've never been there. Then you've got the Liberal Gun Club. According to this, they have their national meeting or their annual meeting in Vegas on the 17th. So depending on when you're listening to this as a podcast. Did you know that Surefire Lights started back in 1979? That anniversary is coming up on October 17th. We have the unfortunate anniversary of the signing of the Gun Control Act of 1968 that happened on October 22nd back in 1968. Not this next coming Saturday, like not next week, but the week after. You got the gunfight at the OK Corral coming up. You've got Henry Derringer being born, and the dreaded PLACA, the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, which is the thing that stops frivolous lawsuits and that the anti-rights side would suggest keeps gun makers immune from persecution, as if the acts of criminals are the responsibility or fault of manufacturer of a product. Gasoline manufacturers are responsible for arsonists. Chemical manufacturers are responsible for poisonings, that kind of thinking. So anyway, that's the gun calendars, and if I'm missing anything, let us know, because it's just a couple of people that even help with this, and then I type it all in here. So if there's something missing, let me know, and we're happy to include it, as long as it's, you know, gun related. People will hear that and then tell me about like some event that somebody's having, that's not even a gun show or something, you know, just not even adjacent. So we're not putting, it's gun calendars, it's not just a calendar of event stuff. Anyway, thanks to the Patreons for making it possible for, like I say, the hosting of that, as well as the time it takes to update that once in a while. Doesn't take a ton of time, but a little bit. Ron 2A Matters is out there. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Good morning as well. This is kind of like my afternoon right now, so definitely should not have drinking that whole Red Bull, not a Red Bull, a Monster yesterday. Let's see. So now we got the military interview shows, and these are interesting. This one is a PSYOP guy, which is essentially military marketing, because there's not a lot of difference between PSYOP and social media techniques. So essentially it's just marketing in interesting ways and effective ways, trying to find effective ways to get a message across for important things, right? So military psychological operations, because we're not allowed to draw the line. We're not other countries that do goofy stuff. So military PSYOPs are essentially a bunch of marketing people that sit around saying, how are we going to sell the, usually not the enemy, but usually like the people in the village that the enemy is occupying, how do we give them information that's of use to them, you know, in a way that can get to them? And that applies. A lot of the PSYOP people are marketing people now. So an interesting conversation. In this case, though, talking about the border, because this is Borderland. It's a show about the border. Wow, is that the only one I put in there? I definitely listened to more than that. Problem is I listen to them on a different computer, so they don't show up in my list, my history list. How do I get to some of the other ones? Now I'm looking at a bunch of old ones that I've been listening to. I've also been trying to learn something new, and I don't know about y'all, but when I go to learn something new, my first stop is watching YouTube videos, people that are coaching or teaching something. A lot of them are trying to get you to buy their course, but they'll kind of show you how. In this case, I'm trying to learn some software. I've been tearing through videos on how to work some software, seeing if I want to make an investment in it or not. And I guess that's most of my history over there. Sorry, so I just been kind of looking through there. I felt like I watched more than just this one show this week, but perhaps I didn't. The week did kind of fly by. So with that, we'll talk about some of this stuff. I guess it was 2 weeks ago since we had a chat with Tony, so I don't have Ask Gun questions in here. But I think these videos are from the Wednesday show with Foss. He kept bringing up shotguns. There's a whole bunch of shotgun lovers out there. And I get it. Like, I understand liking shotguns so much or whatever. So here's some shotgun stuff that I think I brought up during that show. I forget what the question was, like, what's a cool shotgun, or which shotgun would you grab, or something like that. So I really like this old shotgun. It's a, and then I was also showing that's the old camera we used to use. Like, thousands and thousands of videos made on those little cameras. I probably had like 7 of them over the years because I kept buying them. But this is a an old Winchester. It's a slide action, and my favorite thing about it, well, there's lots of things that are cool about it. It's got a hammer, so it actually has a hammer like a revolver or something. You flip that little dealie over and then kind of wiggle on it, and the whole front end comes off. So it's on these cams. You don't have to thread it or nothing. It just kind of twists off. It's super cool. And then it drops in half. There's a hammer on it, So that means you can slam fire it. It means you can, anyway, you can slam fire it, just hold the trigger down and keep pump or sliding the action. Plus, it's from like 1800s or something. So it's one of Browning's first designs. I'm assuming it's Browning's design, I guess. I'm assuming. But if it's assuming it's Browning's design, it's got to be one of his first designs. And actually it is, I'm sure it's Browning. Unless somebody tweaked that particular one that I'm not aware of. I'm pretty sure it's Browning. It took us through the slide and into the pumps.
So that's a quick look.
But it looks super cool. And this was not an expensive gun. Like, I can't remember what I paid for it. A couple $100 back in the day. They're probably worth a little bit more now, but nobody wanted them. They weren't. That particular one is like all butchered up, kind of bubbled for whatever. But that's right my style. So anyway, that's one of my favorite shotguns. I'm not a big fan of shotguns. I just like the history of that thing and the coolness factor to it. Now that's the trench gun, though. Like that gun dressed up differently would have been trench sweeper or whatever they call it. Trench gun, I don't know what they call it. And then here's another shotgun. So shotguns are different. This is our friend Tony in Tulsa area. Made this thing back in the olden days of the 90s and kind of figured out how to
take a look at a Saiga 12.
How to do the gas and everything to chop down a Saiga 12, which normally has like an 18-inch barrel with a gas system like a normal AK, and chop it down into a crink looking thing that's still a 12 gauge and that operates consistently and like effectively. So there was a lot of engineering essentially done to the gas system on this. You don't just chop the shotgun barrel down on a semi-auto, in other words. So these were neat, and I've known Tony through the AK thing that we were in a long time ago. And when I was driving around in 12, we stopped by and visited his shop. And then, man, I don't remember. It must have been either, well, I guess it had to be before or after, but man, I can't remember if this was before. I guess this might have been after. Anyway, a friend of mine here in Tucson had a gun made into a crank by Tony, so this is a video of it, and we're kind of mixed in with some of the video from the visit to his shop to see him kind of working on all these guns. As much as I like it, it looks cool and everything, I also, and I understand the work put into it and everything. I don't like them. That magazine is massively huge, and that's one magazine, and you can only carry a couple of magazines physically, so you're going to be very limited how many rounds you'd have out of this thing. So as a breacher, like making that into a breacher with like a 5-round mag, so that it's sort of like a semi-automatic version of Serbu, maybe we could have a discussion on that. But as cool as that thing is, it's just it's taken to the range and having fun. But anyway, that being said, I'm not shitting on it. It's a neat gun. Then this was also neat. I forget what year this was. It had to be since 2010 because it was at but I just can't remember. This had to be 14 maybe. Maybe I can watch the video and tell if anybody cares. But anyway, that was essentially a light stick inside of a shotgun slug. So it doesn't have, it by itself, it doesn't have any effective stopping power or whatever you want to say, but it lets you shoot at night. And it came in a shell with, did it come with discs and pellets or just pellets? I think it came along with something. So you could take out a clay pigeon with that because there was some clay shot, there was some lead shot in there also. And you can't do that in a bullet. Like there's no bullet that's going to let you have, a light stick jammed in it. So I still have that one. I think the guy gave me that one. And then I think he gave me one that was unbroken. But that was so many years ago. It's probably, it's not going to crack anymore. But it was pretty neat. So those shotguns are kind of neat. We had a discussion about shotguns on, pretty sure it was that Wednesday overnight. Or mouse party, sorry. That I mentioned earlier. I agree. I'm not too much into shotguns. I get them. I like them. But, most people are buying a gun or a couple of guns, and shotguns could easily be. I mean, I guess I understand people recommending putting them on the top of their list, but I won't. I could easily see them being off your list or at the end of your list in the grand scheme of things. All right, well, that one went pretty quick, so we'll thank the co-host for that one. Let's bring it back up here. He was very enthusiastic and active throughout the whole show. And even though nobody super chatted, we're going to go ahead and give him one of these PSYOP flea and tick prevention chews. Let's see if he'll eat one. It's got a husky on the cover, so on the jar, so maybe he won't want it. Maybe he'll think, oh, this is for big dogs. This is for dogs that are fuzzy. This is for dogs that their ears go up. Nope, no, it turns out he's willing to eat this biscuit even though it was made for huskies. And I'm assuming he's now going to get fleas. No, he's not going to get fleas and ticks because it's a prevention. So I thought at first that these were made out of fleas and ticks, but it turns out, no, it's to prevent the fleas and ticks. And if you look at him, you can look right at him. He doesn't even have one flea or tick on him. I'm not saying one's related to the other. I'm just saying he just ate one of these, and he doesn't have a flea or tick on him. Science. There's a little commercial for PSYOP flea and tick preventive biscuits. All right, well, I guess I'm thinking about making a cheese sandwich, and whenever that happens, somebody requires some cheese, and I'll need to go off there because that'll get ugly. So with that, we'll wrap this one up and say thanks everybody for watching. Sorry about the off time. If you're listening to this at an off time, wondering why it wasn't at the correct time, we'll get that back on schedule here. I think I have an outro. I'm looking to see how this thing works. Maybe I don't. I'll put this on.
Shit. Shit. Ninja? Ninja! Ninja!
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache.